It is the 30th day of June 2023. Hello and welcome to the News International Edition. We're coming to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. I'm Emma Akwero. We start off today from Ukraine. In Kramatorsk, eastern Ukraine, the survivors of a deadly strike on a city center restaurant are trying to cope with the aftermath. Lying on a hospital bed, Makaita's face and body are scarred by shrapnel wounds. 12 people, including children, were killed and dozens received injuries when Russia missiles struck the restaurant on Tuesday. Moscow insisted it killed 2 Ukrainian generals and dozens of officers and foreign mercenaries when its forces struck a point of temporary deployment of Kyiv troops. Ria Restaurant was popular with military volunteers and journalists. The large restaurant with seating inside and on a veranda served food including pizzas and kebabs. The most seriously injured were later transferred to a large hospital in the central city of Dnipro, including a 9-month-old baby with a traumatic brain injury, doctors said. The strike caused damage to buildings all around. Here are some comments from some survivors.
Today they will come, they will patch it up. Well, until they compensate, well, at least patch it up to protect it from rain, and we will see. Well, that is, this room was just in the line of fire, as they say, 50 meters. We had an explosion, but at first we didn't pay attention to it because we were sitting and we heard a whistling sound like a plane flying. And after that, someone shouted, "Everyone on the floor." And after that, we were lying on the floor, there was an explosion, and I don't remember anything after that. There is a big fighting spirit. We know what kind of neighbor we have, Russia. I feel hatred for them because they are carrying out genocide of the Ukrainian people. At the moment, we have patients in our department after artillery shelling. They have light to moderate injuries. There is no worsening of the condition at the moment. They receive scheduled medical care. All severe cases were operated on and sent to the 3rd level of medical care.
Now, environmental activist Greta Thunberg denounced the ecological havoc caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and a lack of international reaction to the disaster. Ecocide and environmental destruction is a form of warfare, as Ukrainians by this point know too well, and so does Russia, she said during a visit to Kyiv as part of an international delegation investigating the environmental consequences of the conflict.
Thunberg, speaking at a news conference along with Ukrainian presidential aide Andriy Yermak, said environmental destruction is a form of attack on people's life.
Ecocide and environmental destruction is a form of warfare, as Ukrainians by this point know all too well, and so does Russia. And that's why they are deliberately targeting the environment and people's livelihoods and homes, and therefore also destroying lives.
She and the rest of the delegation also met President Volodymyr Zelensky. The destruction of the Kakhovka Dam in the southern region of Kherson on June 6th flooded huge swaths of the Kherson region. The disaster killed dozens of people and forced thousands of others to flee.
I do not think that the world's reaction to this ecocide is sufficient. I don't think any reaction could be sufficient because these atrocities, they leave us at loss for words. I think it's hard to react to these things that are actually happening.
Ukraine has accused Russia of blowing up the dam, which was under Moscow's control, while the Kremlin insists that it was Kyiv that shelled the Soviet-era structure. Each side has blamed the other for the disaster. Zelensky has criticized what he says is the lack of an adequate international response to the disaster. There are also fears over the risk of a disaster at Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia power station, Europe's largest nuclear plant, which is currently under Russian control. Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, has repeatedly warned of the dangers of a major accident there.
Now, European Union leaders have opened a second day of migration talks on Friday as Poland and Hungary continue to block progress after they were outvoted earlier this month on a plan to share refugees arriving in Europe among the 27 member countries. The leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and EU diplomacy chief Joseph Borrell arrived at the European Council for the second day of the summit. On the agenda, migration and relations with China. Some leaders say that Poland and Hungary seem to be fighting a battle that started years ago when well over 1 million migrants entered Europe, most of them refugees fleeing Syria in 2015, and sparked one of the bloc's biggest crises. Others say the two simply must not be permitted to break EU rules. Earlier this month, EU countries made a breakthrough on asylum law reform, sealing an agreement on a plan to share responsibility for migrants entering Europe without authorization. The deal balanced the obligation for countries where most migrants arrive to process and lodge them against the requirements for other members to provide support, whether financially or by hosting refugees. Countries refusing to take migrants could pay €2,000 per person instead. The agreement was sealed with a qualified majority vote of around two-thirds. Only Poland and Hungary voted against it. Their aim at the summit has been to challenge the legal validity of that decision. Poland and Hungary, along with the Czech Republic, refused to accept migrant quotas hastily imposed in 2015. The EU's top court ruled in 2020 that they had failed to respect the bloc's laws. The number of people trying to enter the EU without authorization is on the rise. It's more than double in the same period last year and the most since 2017. While Hungary and Poland are unlikely to succeed in their quest to have the rules overturned, their anti-immigrant stance, backed by other members like Austria, Denmark or Sweden, has helped ensure that the EU's policies focus on keeping people out and quickly deporting those not entitled to stay. Now, South Africa's corruption watchdog on Friday absolved President Cyril Ramaphosa of allegations that he breached executive ethics in a farm cash scandal that spanned into one of the biggest storms of his career. The scandal erupted in June last year when the country's former spy boss filed a complaint with the police alleging that Ramaphosa had cancelled the 2020 theft of a huge haul of foreign currency from his Fala farm. We have more.
An investigation by the Ombudswoman, also known as the Public Protector, found that Ramaphosa's handling of the case was not in violation of the Constitution. Aggregated against the standard imposed by the Executive Ethics Code, it is found that there is no basis upon which to conclude that the President contravened the relevant clauses of the law, including the period following the alleged theft of US dollars, Interim Ombudswoman Kolika Kaleka told a news conference in Pretoria. The Public Protector's Office is an independent state institution provided for in the Constitution and reports on misconduct or malfeasance within the government, but it has no powers to prosecute. The police is carrying out its own investigation in the farm haste case, which raised accusations of money laundering and corruption by the 70-year-old president. Ramaphosa has always denied any wrongdoing. He said the cash, more than $500,000, stashed beneath sofa cushions, was payment for buffaloes bought by a Sudanese businessman. A parliament-sanctioned independent panel said last year that he may have committed serious violations and misconduct. Parliament later decided not to initiate impeachment proceedings that could have forced him out of office. Ramaphosa, a former union boss who became a business tycoon after apartheid, stepped into the president's job in February 2018. He came into office promising a new dawn after the scandal-rocked tenure of former President Jacob Zuma.
Now, Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, Pope Francis' peace envoy, delivered a mass at Moscow's main Catholic cathedral as part of a mission to both Russia and Ukraine. Zuppi's ceremony follows meeting with Russia's ombudswoman for children's rights, Maria Belova, who is wanted by the ICC over allegations of illegally transferring Ukrainian children to Russia, as well as Moscow's spiritual leader, Patriarch Kirill. Pope Francis' peace envoy on Thursday met with the Russian official wanted by the ICC over allegations of illegally transferring Ukrainian children to Russia and Moscow's spiritual leader, Patriarch Kirill. Cardinal Matteo Zuppi began his visit to Russia earlier this week in the first such trip since President Vladimir Putin sent troops to Ukraine in February 2022. The International Criminal Court, which is based in The Hague, released arrest warrants for Lvova Belova as well as Putin in March. The court said the orders were linked to the war crime accusations of unlawfully deporting Ukrainian children. Kyiv says more than 16,000 Ukrainian children have been deported to Russia since the beginning of the Kremlin's large-scale military campaign in Ukraine, and that many were placed in institutions and foster homes. The Kremlin and Lvova Belova have dismissed the allegations and pointed out that Russia does not recognize the jurisdiction of the court. Zuppi visited Kyiv earlier this month. At the time, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky appealed to the Italian cardinal to help secure the release of the Ukrainian prisoners of war and the return the children he says were deported to Russia. Zuppi also met with the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, in a rare meeting for a high-ranking Catholic official. The Russian church leader is a staunch supporter of Putin and the offensive in Ukraine, often portraying the conflict in religious terms. He urged the two countries to join hands to prevent the situation from taking a negative turn. Relations between the Vatican and the Russian Orthodox Church remain strained after a schism in the churches almost 1,000 years ago. Zuppi delivered a mass at Moscow's main Catholic cathedral last Thursday. He's due to return to the Vatican on Friday. And finally, drone strikes Friday hit an airbase in Libya's east used by mercenaries of the Russian paramilitary group Wagner without causing any casualties, a military official told reporters. The official, speaking on condition of anonymity, said the origin of the overnight strikes on the Al-Karaba airbase, about 150 kilometers southwest of Benghazi, was unknown. The base that was hit is where members of the Wagner group are located, the official said, adding there were no victims. Libya has been torn by more than a decade of stop-start conflict since a 2011 revolt toppled strongman Muammar Gaddafi, which has also drawn in multiple foreign powers. The North African country remains split between a nominally interim government in Tripoli in the west and another in the east backed by military strongman Khalifa Haftar. Alongside fast fighters from Chad, Sudan, Niger, and Nigeria, Syria recruited other mercenaries. The Wagner group has come to Haftar's help, including in his past failed attempt to take the capital. Wagner mercenaries remain active in oil-rich eastern Libya as well as the country's south, though some had left to fight in Mali and Ukraine, supporting the Russian army's invasion. And that's all the international news we had for you this week. We'll be back again on Monday at 4 p.m. From me and the team behind the scenes, thank you for watching this whole week, and do have yourselves a fantastic weekend.
Acne has a negative psychological impact on the people who suffer from it.
Now, the other presentation is basically because of the complications of this condition.
Stress is everywhere, but how do we manage it?
Once you have hepatitis B, you always have to do what? To survive.
In People and Stories this week, we bring you the second episode of our conversation with Pastor Patience Museveni Rabogo.
Actually, in the book, there's a whole chapter that is dedicated to my husband, Audrey. He has been really a partner in life.
Patience, what inspired you to write this book, Jesus is Africa?
The Lord started really challenging me to write down my own journey alongside of it.
We are going to know how Patience has used Christianity to bring people together.
I am passionate about reformation, and I'm drawn to places where reformation has happened as a result of spiritual awakening.
Do not miss this and much more in People and Stories this Monday, July 3rd at 10 p.m. here on Urban TV.
Brought to you by
Gossip. Actually, we have been cancellized. Gossip ever on Ugandan television. Short Circuit with witty success.
Red Carpet, my name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you for hanging out with me. For more entertainment news,
I am so excited. I don't know if you are excited to see.
Trends and movies.
Feel like you've never felt.
Entertaining you all day with our Abantainment shows. Tune in to Urban TV on StarTimes Channel 230 and GoTV 375.
Eno pate yani waseplani oluva wano tugenda bwani sese
simi nyangono nyimi nyingini nyangono munyumini minyangono
njiro oluyongono
misi nyangono masaluni toko minyamisi mini nyangono nyimini
zino oluyongono
simi nyangono munyongono abani TV minyangono musi minyangono
zino oluyongono.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming around and watching. Salute talk. My name is Marina Black American.
Black American Black Martin.
From 8 p.m. up to 9 p.m. for wine and working out. So can I run on so can I can you go rock and march when
We bring you current, relevant, authentic, local and international news.